Star Wars 7x7, episode 1866. Today, I want to talk about the notion of speculation without attachment, which I've kind of been talking about over the last little while, but I thought that it might be worth making this philosophy clear because, heck, I think it might be useful. Let's go. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. We are 129 days away from the release of The Rise of Skywalker and the culmination of 42 years of filmmaking, a trilogy of trilogies. The Skywalker saga comes to a close in just a few short months. And we've been talking, you and I, about a variety of topics over these last couple of years or so, and what might happen in The Rise of Skywalker. And as things have been revealed to us, we've been just kind of following paths that have been laid out for us from time to time. But I wanted to step back a moment and talk about the speculation that happens here on Star Wars 7x7. So I want you to cast your mind back to, say, 1982. At that point, we were about a year away from the release of Return of the Jedi. As far as the Emperor goes, there was one throwaway line from the original Star Wars, aka A New Hope, where he had dissolved the Senate, and that's as much as we knew about him, and we kind of assumed that he had to be a bigger muckety-muck than anybody who was in that Death Star conference room. And then, of course, we saw the infamous hologram in The Empire Strikes Back, where he was referred to as Master or My Master by Darth Vader. So now you really know he's a big muckety-muck, and that they substituted monkey eyes into the hologram instead of human eyes, which is why he looked so weird before they substituted Ian McDiarmid in the special edition. And then, when you finally meet him in Return of the Jedi, he is a doddering old man with a cackling laugh and likes to troll Luke Skywalker as he makes dramatic turns to and away from him, looking out the window, "Your fleet is lost," and so on and so forth. And also a master of the slow clap, right? Good. But it's not until the very end of things that the Force lightning comes out, and it's like, what? Yeah, it's rather shocking to say the least. So, could anybody have expected that this doddering old fool was suddenly going to go bzzz and mess Luke up in a horrible way? No, of course, we absolutely could not have seen that. And yet, there was speculation running about who the Emperor was, what his deal was, but I don't feel like the experience of the Emperor in his reveal had nearly the same drama as, say, Supreme Leader Snoke's eventual reveal and subsequent demise in The Last Jedi. And I've seen some of the blame on the negative reaction that happened to The Last Jedi being placed at the hands of the notion of internet speculation. The idea that people trying to think for themselves what might be the case with certain characters and situations and not having those situations fulfilled the way that they might have imagined them, that might have been a generator of dissatisfaction for the movie. And I had to say that I personally utterly disagree with that assessment, or at least, I don't know that that's really strongly the case, because I think one of the things that has been relatively prevalent with anybody with whom I've talked about Star Wars with, there's a lot of withs there, it's the notion of speculation without attachment. It's the idea that you can actually have a character be mysterious, wonder about that character, and whatever it turns out the outcome of that character's portrayal is in a subsequent story, people generally take that very well. And, any particular complaints I've seen about Snoke aren't so much about the speculation not being fulfilled, it's, other avenues that people want to pursue. So in a similar fashion to what I said the other day about saying that I am open to whatever romantic relationship they want to throw at me in The Rise of Skywalker, as long as there's an emotional, believable creation of a story around it. I want to encourage all of us to have those kinds of conversations about all the upcoming elements of the Rise of Skywalker. This is a rare moment that you and I are going to get to have together where we finally get to talk about one last movie. I mean, we thought it was going to be the end with Return of the Jedi, and then it turned out they were doing a prequel trilogy, and that was fantastic. And we thought it was going to be the end when they did Revenge of the Sith, and that was it. Even though, yeah, we knew that George Lucas had always talked about 9 movies. Heck, he'd always talked about 12 movies. But this really and truly is the last of the Skywalker saga. So let's revel in the possibilities. I would love to hear how you think this is all going to turn out. Wherever you catch this episode, wherever you catch future episodes of the show, if there's a comments place in there, please, by all means, chime in with what you think might end up happening. No spoilers, of course. If you're checking out rumor, leak, and spoiler places and sharing that stuff, yeah, hang on to that. But if you are checking out this show in a place where there's not a comment section, then please, by all means, come to home base for the show at sw7x7.com and just look for that particular episode that you want to chat with me on. And let's speculate. We are entering one last golden period of time before The Rise of Skywalker comes out in just a few short months. And I hope that you get to enjoy it just as much as I'm hoping to enjoy it myself. I'm going to take a quick break, and one final thought before we come back. Stay tuned. This episode is brought to you by Constant Contact, the premier email marketing solution for small businesses and organizations. I've used their service since 2003, and over the past decade and a half, I've watched them evolve, make the product simpler, more powerful, easy to use, and do everything that they can to help train people to use the product more effectively and for it to work with other forms of marketing like social media, for example. So check out sw7x7.com/email to learn more about Constant Contact and start a free trial. Once again, that is sw7x7.com/email for a free trial. Welcome back. So, my one last final thought is for anyone listening, and I do have some folks who listen to the show who are just not fans of the sequel movies for a variety of reasons. I just want to say to everybody who has been down on the sequel movies and is not necessarily looking forward with anticipation to The Rise of Skywalker, this is where the speculation without attachment situation really comes in. I know that there are folks who have been disappointed, and I'm very sorry that that is the case. All I can tell you is that from my own perspective, even now, and I've talked about this on this show before, Attack of the Clones was for the longest time my least favorite Star Wars movie, and it took a long time for it to grow on me, but it finally did, and that part of it I've talked about here, about how even that so-called clunky dialogue between Anakin and Padme, that just, yeah, if I think back to some of my teenage journals, it sounds a little bit too close to home. So I think there's a possibility that these movies could eventually grow on some folks who were not initially fans of those movies. I mean, heck, it happened to me with the prequel trilogy, and I think it's a possibility for fans of the franchise who are not necessarily fans of the sequel movies as well. So I beg of you, because of the fact that that possibility exists, because of the fact that this is the final movie in the Skywalker saga, I hope that you will consider giving it one last fair chance and just seeing what happens, at least in the theater. And then, you know what? 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, revisit the movies and see what you think and see if your opinion changes, because it just, well, might. And that is going to do it for today's episode of the show. Thank you so much for joining me for this speculation episode of a different kind. And as always, may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.